BLUELOCK's new Egoist League final rankings have been revealed, giving us the final 23 players who will be representing Japan in the upcoming World Cup. With the reveal of these bids, you also have the introduction of numerous different opinions in relation to their value, with some characters being believed to be overvalued, while others are being believed to be undervalued. Well, in today's video, I'll be giving my takes in relation to the player values, and giving the players the value that I believe they deserve based on the feats of the previous game. I won't be covering the player values for the people who went to Ubers though, since those have been the same since the Bastard vs Ubers game, so it'll only be the newest values that will be mentioned in this video. Now, like in all of my other videos, spoiler for the BLUELOCK manga up to chapter 298, and if you're not caught up to that point, I would suggest you click off this video now if you wish to not be spoiled. And also, join my Discord server, the New Egoist Geeks, to become closer with our amazing community. The link to that is down below. So when peeping at the bids, let's start with the lowest bid that we know of, that being Seishiro Nagi with a value of 24 million yen. Now for Nagi getting a decrease and being locked off, I've expressed my opinion on that in numerous different videos and streams, but I haven't actually addressed his bid value itself, which I don't really agree with. In chapter 247, Ryo himself expressed how Nagi is in the safe zone at 40 million yen, but as of chapter 298, Nagi was in fact not in the safe zone because his ass is out of here now. But I feel like a decrease to that degree doesn't make that much sense. I mean, from what we saw, Nagi and Ryo consistently linked up, and their teamwork eventually led to a Chigiri goal. Granted, they also did concede one goal thanks to Otoya intercepting their pass, but that's more of something that you could say is a positive for Otoya as opposed to a negative for Nagi. It's like Karasu intercepting the pass to Kaiser from Ness. Him doing that isn't exactly a negative to Ness, but just a positive for Karasu. And when compared to the other characters in the most recent PXG game, I feel like Nagi did just as much as them, yet he still got a decrease while the others went up. I honestly think Nagi should have decreased a little bit, but not to this degree. Not enough to make him lock off at least. If I was to give Nagi an accurate value, I would put him around 30 million yen, increasing his canon value by 6 million. He didn't do much of value individually, but he at least contributed to one play which led to the opening goal in a matter of minutes. So I feel like that should at least save him from elimination. Now Nagi did do bad, but personally not as bad as the next guy, that being Nijiro Nanase with a value of 25 million yen. Now honestly, Nanase surviving was not something that I was expecting, mostly because I recapped everything that he did in my PXG vs Bastard Mention ranking video, and Nanase was like the second least impactful of every core player on that pitch. Like, Nanase did involve himself with a lot of plays, don't get me wrong, but how many of those plays were actually successful? He tried to help Rin against Isagi, but he failed. He tried to stop Hiyori with Karasu and Zantetsu, but he failed. He tried to send a pass to Rin, which Isagi stopped, therefore failing. Overall, Nanase was involved with a lot of plays. However, the plays that succeeded were very minimal, or only did so thanks to another core player such as Rin or Karasu. Nanase's only memorable feat is sending a pass to Rin at the start of the game, which was eventually blocked because Rin had sold. And even then, there are drastically more characters who did more than Nanase, yet increased way less. I don't personally think that Nanase should have survived, and based off of how it looks, he only did survive as a plot device to kick Nagi out of BLUELOCK. It doesn't make much sense to me personally. If I was to give Nanase a current value, it would be around 20 million yen, giving him a 5 million decrease from his current value. The next step on our ranking is another character who a lot of people were confused about in relation to their value, that being Kyora's Jin with a value of 26 million yen. Now the reason for this being so shocking is because this is Kyora's first bid value, where he increased by 26 million yen. Out of any character for people to be confused as to why he survived, I totally understand the comments about Kiora. I mean, dude only put up one single assist and pretty much lost every other matchup during the PXG game. The most obvious ones are his 1v1s against Karasu and his attempts to help Kunigami stop Shido. Other than that though, Kiora really didn't do a lot, and yet somehow he got a value worth more than Hiyori after his Uber's performance. Seems a little bit wild to me. I do understand the context of this assist, which gave him such a high value, but still I think that's very high for just one lone assist. If I was to alter Kyora's bid value in any way, I would decrease it to 22 million yen, a 4 million decrease from his existing value. Now next up on our ranking, we have a character who is actually one of my girlfriend's favorites, that being Yoichi Jingo, with a value of 27 million yen, increasing by 9 million. Now personally, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that Nanase and Yoichi both increased by 9 million yen doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, if you're trying to say that the performances by Nanase and Yoichi were relative enough for them to earn a similar increase, I find that a little bit crazy. Yoichi was the core of the defensive line for Bastard Mention, assisting with stealing the ball with double presses, rushing to loose balls, and feeding Hiyori to spark the play. He linked up with Kaiser and then joined Kaiser and Isagi on their push down the field after forming their contract. While Nanase on the other hand only impacted and positively resulted in like what, 1 or 2 plays? I think when you look at Raichi's performance, I think he does deserve 9 million yen, however I don't believe that Nanase does. So for Raichi's value, I personally wouldn't change a thing, as I think the 9 million yen increase works fine for Raichi and his performance. Now next up we have Zantetsu with a value of 33 million yen, increasing by 10 million. Now Zantetsu's I feel like is a little bit overrated. As far as I can remember, I think Zantetsu only positively impacted like 2 to 3 plays during the game that were of any importance. He knocked the ball away from Ness, however Hiyori was able to pick it back up. He reacted to the loose ball that Karasu sent after the free kick, rushing down the field and linking up with Charles and Shido, and he got to the loose ball that Charles had blocked faster than even Kunigami did, linking up with Shido again. But aside from that, I really don't think he did anything else of value. I do think that 10 million, like Nanase, is a bit much for his lackluster performance. So I would decrease his value by around 3 million, giving him a new value of 30 million yen. Now next up is another fast character and personally one of my favorites, that being Corona Ranze, with a value of 35 million yen, only increasing by 1 million. Now Corona's overall value is not the end of the world for me, it's how much he increased during this last game. I know he wasn't on the pitch for long, maybe like 1/3 of the game, but only a million increase? In that short time frame, he contributed way more to the impact of the game than players like Nanase did. He linked up with Isagi and Hiyori on numerous occasions, he reacted to loose balls fast, he helped Raichi in some presses, and he even helped Isagi break past Rain. He got Isagi to the goal zone fairly quickly and on numerous occasions, only really ever being stopped by Kaiser or Rain. So the fact that he only went up 1 million yen for his performances seems a little bit weird, especially when you look at Uber's where Corona's performance there gave him a 10 million yen increase, despite being on the pitch for less chapters than PXG. So if I was to give Corona a value, I would shoot him up to 40 million yen, increasing by 5 million from his canon value. And like Corona, since this guy is also a part of Isagi's femboy army, let's talk about him, that being Hiyori with a value of 39 million yen, increasing by 19 million. Now Hiyori's value is actually one that I'm not opposed to. I mean, Hiyori is one of the best midfielders in the Blue Lock series, maybe the best in the project itself. And with him only playing in 2 games, 1 full game and maybe a 4th of another, having his value at 39 million yen makes a lot of sense. The increase of 19 million also makes some sense. He was keeping up with Charles in his unpredictability, blocking his contrarian passing, and even sparking the tri-fusion chemical reaction of himself, Isagi, and Kunigami, which eventually did lead to a goal. And while he didn't actively get the assist, acting as the catalyst, passing between a triple press to make it happen is definitely something valuable. He really did somewhat drop off during the middle of the game a bit, but he picked himself back up at the end, linking up with Kaiser and Isagi as they worked towards a final goal. He even beat Karasu in a one-on-one in order to send the intended final pass to Kaiser at the end of the game. I feel like if Hiyori played in every single game of the NEL, his value could be somewhere around like 60 to 70 million, maybe even breaking the top 10. But I think that his current value and increase does make sense given the context of his performances and plays, so yeah, I'm fine with it. Next up though, we have Kenyu Yukimiya, the blind man sprinting with a value of 42 million yen, increasing by 6 million. While a lot of people may disagree with me here, I think that Yukimiya's value and his increase were absolutely perfect. Being subbed on with only 5 chapters till the game ended, Yukimiya didn't have a lot of time to do really anything, which I think is pretty iconic since that's like his catchphrase or something. Yukimiya in those 5 chapters managed to complete 2 solo dribble runs, as well as get a shot off towards the net. That's it. I mean, what did you expect? Bro was only on for 5 chapters. But I feel like getting 2 solo dribble plays as well as awakening Predator to take a shot on the net is definitely deserving of a 6 million yen increase. And for those of you who don't agree and don't believe that his value should increase by 6 million for this performance, remember that in one of his dribbling plays he broke past Karasu, the same dude who just stopped Isagi's twin gun volley a few chapters prior. So bro was making a statement with his very first play. There's honestly not much else to say, his increase isn't a lot and his value is still pretty low. But yeah, Yukimiya's value and increase does make sense to me, so let's just move on. And move on we shall, because the next character to talk about is Gin Gagamaru, with a value of 50 million yen, increasing by 18 million. Now his current value and increase are completely fine to me, but that's not where I have the issue. My issue actually comes from an older value. See, in this game, Gagamaru blocking a range shot that both Kaiser and Isagi had failed to stop together, with the shot nearly crossing over the line, is what gave him the 18 million value increase. However, it doesn't seem like his value was impacted by his incredibly poor performance when it came to stopping Shido at the beginning of the game. Gagamaru blocked the stealth kill shot, the only person to do that in the NEL, which I feel like should deserve a high increase, you know? I mean, this shooting style is how Baro got a hat trick against FC Barca. But when looking at it, Gagamaru only increased by 4 million for that play, which to me feels a little bit weird. And going back even further, blocking Rail's Travella copy at the beginning of the Manchan City game gave him a value of 28 million yen. I feel like Gagamaru's values are all screwed up here. He should have more and he deserves more, but because of his previous values, he doesn't have that. But in the context of the current value and increase, I think that they are fine for him and his performances in this latest game. Before getting into the next batch of characters, if you are enjoying this video so far, leave me a like and subscribe down below to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this. And if you want to become a member of the channel, you will unlock some awesome perks, including custom video requests and shoutouts and videos. All of the funding goes towards the Blue Lock New World movie, so if you want to share its support, become a member. Now next up is a character who many know that I do not like very much, that being Karasu Tabito with a value of 55 million yen, increasing by 20 million. While Karasu is indeed not one of my favorite characters, I do have to admit that his value is incredibly justified. His first biggest impact was feeding the ball to Charles, which led to Shido scoring the first goal of the game nearly instantly. But he also continued to be a very impactful player throughout the rest of the game, involving himself in defensive plays, baiting opposing players and sending passes, and even pressing opposing key threats in order to slow down the pace of the game. And considering Karasu is a vital piece of PXG's defensive line, I can't knock the value that he has because he honestly does deserve it. So when it comes to Karasu's existing value, I think that it does make sense for him to be worth as much as he is. And yes, as a Karasu hater, I am acknowledging it, but that doesn't change the fact that I do not like Karasu. Next up on our list, we have Karasu's partner and the RZR of BLUELOCK. Fuck, why did I say that? We have Eto Otoya with a value of 63 million yen, increasing by 21 million. Now before we talk about Otoya's value, I need to say this now. Otoya is not as good as you think he is. But bro beat Chris Prince in a one-on-one. No, he really didn't. All Otoya did was slip into his blind spot and score before he could react. That isn't that insane. Otoya's entire specialty is slipping behind people, and all Otoya did was enter his blind spot and then score a goal. All he did was do what he does to every player and get lost for a second, and then he scored a goal. Kaiser matched up one-on-one against Chris Prince. Otoya did not. That's really it. I really wanted to just crush that misconception. But despite what I just said, Otoya does deserve the value that he has, because he has been incredibly consistent throughout the NEL. He's played as an incredible link-up partner in the early part of the NEL for Bachata, being someone who helped Bachata score the first goal against Bayern München. We could also even speculate that Otoya played a vital role in helping Bachata score against Ubers as well. And from what we've seen in the game against Manchan City, Otoya has stepped up and taking some weight off of Bachata's shoulders, intercepting passes, and even linking up with Lavinho and Bachata as a goal scorer rather than a post player. When I say that Otoya isn't good, I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm saying that he isn't a top tier player, a player who is around Karasu in relation to the tiers of blue lockers. For his value, we know that Otoya had managed to score 2 goals and assisted at least 2. So for 62 million yen, I do think that he deserves his value. If he got even more than just the 2 and 2, maybe he could be worth around like 70 million yen. But I think for what we know of, 62 million is fine for Otoya. But following Otoya is Rensuke Kunigami with a value of 66 million yen, increasing by 16 million yen. Now this is another one of those bids that I feel like got devalued a little bit. I mean, Kunigami not only contributed an assist to his record, but completely changed the way he was playing. From my perspective in the interpretation of the NEL value system, it's done based on how much the club values you and your skills. This is why your first NEL value is going to be one of the bigger ones you gain, as you are going to show off what you can do from nothing. Only in exceptional cases such as with Isagi, who continues to demonstrate new things that he is capable of, which contribute to his value increasing typically more after every game. So when you show off more of what you're capable of, especially if it's new and diversifies your arsenal a bit, then you should be given a bigger increase. But that rule didn't seem to apply with Kunigami. Before the PXG match, he was considered to be a solo player. Sometimes he was used as bait or a goal poacher who rushes in to snatch up off-course shots or just make solo plays for himself. But during the final match, Kunigami showed that not only can he act as a team player, but also a defensive player as opposed to just a dark horse striker. For his first time as a defensive midfielder, Kunigami managed to lock down Shido, the player who scored in mere minutes of the PXG game starting. This is also a player who we know to have gained a significant increase in value. He also appeared for a clutch defensive play at the end of the match, shutting down PXG's chances at a counterattack. I feel like his contributions during that game were significantly impacted by his substitution after Ruin's goal, because after returning 10 chapters later, he really didn't do anything else of value. But even then, I feel like the display of the diversity of his new arsenal as a club owners, his incredible defensive plays and offensive coordination are fitting for him to have earned more than he did. If I was to adjust his value, I would give him around 75 million yen, increasing his current value by 9 million. After Kunigami comes the chameleon of Manchan City, that being Mikage Rao, who currently holds a value of 78 million yen, who increased by 44 million yen. Now, Rao's value, I'm honestly really torn with. On the one hand, I'm very happy for Rao, he got a huge value and I never doubted him. But on the other hand, I think that it is way too large of a value. The biggest factors which contributed to his ranking up were his goal which he scored thanks to Chris Prince, and his assist to Chigiri. There were of course other factors, but these two were the main ones. But I think getting a value that high seems a little bit strange given his decline in the past 2 games. I mean, I get that he's gone down now so we could always increase, but I feel like he shouldn't have increased by that much. Increasing by 44 million makes his value go up more than Ring did in the PXG game, which to me does make it seem like a little bit too much. Another contributing factor to Rao's high value could potentially be Prince's statement of wanting to see Rao's future, since throughout the NEL up to this point, Chris has been wanting to support Nagi and Nagi solely. So the fact that he's now supporting Rao, a player who like Chigiri was originally intended to fight on their own if given the opportunity, could be reason enough to send him a higher bid. But if it were me giving the value, I would lower his value by around 15 million yen to around 62 million. This would give him him around a 28 million increase for his goal and assist, also accounting for the fact that they lost their game in the end, which I think is fair. But going into our top 5, we have the best dribbler of Blue Lock, that being Meguro Bachara, who earned a value of 120 million yen, increasing by 41 million. Now, like many people, I'm actually really happy that Bachara is getting the attention that he deserves. I mean, with a total of 5 goals and 2 assists as far as we know, Bachara has been just as consistent, if not more consistent than Chigiri. His recent bid increase is due to his double goals that he scored against Manshan City, his link up and assist with Atoya, his impactful interception of Nagi's potentially game-ending pass, and many other factors. But to say that Bachara doesn't deserve the value that he has is literally insane. But Bachara deserves the value that he got and the increase that he has, being involved in every goal that was scored for Barca in the final game, also delivering Barca their first win in the NEL. So yeah, let's just move on. And move on we shall, because in third place we have Shido Ryusei with a value of 160 million yen, increasing by 60 million. Now this value is one that I think pissed a lot of people off, seeing as Shido surpassed Bado in the NEL rankings. Now just to clarify, I do not believe that Shido's value increase came from just his performances alone, as while he did score an early goal in the PXG game, his feats are relatively lacking until the end. That is in part due to Kunigami's efforts, putting Shido on lock for around 20 chapters straight. And yet somehow, I do understand how Shido got his bid value. And I also just want to clarify for the Shido fanboys here. The NAL value system is not a ranking and not a determinant of skill, but rather the value that each player holds at the club that they were given the bid from. So in the NEL, because Shido is higher than Bado, that doesn't mean that Shido is better than Bado. It just means that Shido is valued more by PXG than Bado is by Ubers. In the NEL, Shido was the first person to spark a genuine chemical reaction with Charles. Against Barca, I'm not sure if you can count those as chemical reactions, as Charles didn't really seem to be playing like his typical contrarian self. So against Bayern München, this was the very first chemical reaction that Charles had ever participated in, which began to spark his awakening. And this is important, because PXG wants Charles to awaken. The entire purpose for PXG coming to the NEL was to train and awaken Charles, which would in turn help awaken and elevate Loki to a level that would surpass Noel Noah. So to PXG, any players who have the potential or compatibility to make Charles play at his best are going to be highly valued. And because Ring was taken by a separate club, which I will mention later, PXG would want to ensure that Shido comes to play for them, because what he brings to their table and what he provides their club with is incredibly valuable. Do I think that Shido's performances alone deserve a 60 million yen increase? No, of course not. I would reasonably say that his value should decrease by 30 million, giving him a value of 130 million yen instead. But Shido's value deserves to be high because of what he provides PXG with, a striker who helps awaken and spark Charles' evolution. And because that's what PXG needs for Loki to surpass Noah and in turn bring them in a lot of money, they are willing to put a couple extra million yen down on Shido to ensure that. Think of it like an investment or incentive for Shido to play for them. So in that regard, Shido is valued more by PXG than Bado is by Ubers, and it makes sense that he is. Realistically, going off of in-game feats, Shido should be lower than Bado, or around 30 million yen lower than his current bid value if I'm being honest. But because of the situation for Shido, his value makes sense and changing it wouldn't make sense either. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, let's talk about Blue Lock's number 1. Or should I say those who are tied for number 1. Because tied for first place we have Rin Itoshi with a value of 240 million yen, increasing by 42 million yen, and Yoichi Isagi with a value of 240 million yen, increasing by 90 million yen. Now I think you guys have seen my video on this ranking, and if you haven't, it's fine. Bottom line though, I do not agree with this ranking. There are so many factors that would contribute to this value that I don't think are being considered here. The first being that Rin has actively sold scoring goals on numerous occasions during the PXG match in the pursuit of following his own ego. And I get it, Blue Lock is about following your ego. But from an outside perspective, Rin has actively sold 3 chances at scoring a goal for PXG. The first was his VIP box seat moment in chapter 251, then in chapter 273 where he could have shot but didn't, and his third was in chapter 290 after crashing into Kaiser. Hell, during his second failed goal scoring moment, Loki even comments about the repercussions of refusing to shoot and score. It should be fairly clear to everyone that Rin should have gotten a hit taken to his bid value increase. I mean, by actively selling numerous times, it seems strange to me that he would increase just as much as Bachara for his performances. As for Isagi, I don't think that he has played better in any game in Blue Lock than in the match against PXG. Scoring 2 goals, establishing himself as Bayern München's nucleus, linking up with everyone, including Kaiser, a person that the entire world has been waiting to see, and by working with Kaiser, effectively shutting Rin down and winning the game. The fact that Isagi earned less than his Uber's value is crazy to me, and I feel like he should have been valued more. Rin's value to me is fine, but either Isagi deserves an increase or Rin deserves a decrease. I said that Isagi would get a value of 275 million yen, while Rin got a value of 250. But with this final bid value, I believe that Rin should keep his value at 240 million, while Isagi gets an increase to 250. And those were just my thoughts in regards to the Blue Lock NEL ranking and the changes I would make to give the players the values that I believe that they deserve. Now please keep in mind that this video is strictly my opinion and my opinion alone. If you have a different opinion or you disagree with me, you are totally entitled to do so. But aside from that, I hope you guys did enjoy this video and will continue to enjoy it in the future. I also want to say thank you so much to all of the members of the channel who help support me and my content. And if you want to earn some awesome benefits like they do and even get your name mentioned in the Blue Lock New World movie, become a member yourself and help support me and my content moving forward. And just a final reminder to join my Discord server if you're interested in getting any more involved with our community. As for the question of the video, what values would you change in this final ranking? Leave me your thoughts down below in the comment section. And like always, thank you all for watching, like and subscribe to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this.